sind wir wieder mit einem Bretterwisser-Spezial. Ich habe jetzt zwar noch kurz in Deutsch geredet, aber wir werden jetzt gleich mal umspringen auf Englisch, weil wir haben nämlich einen speziellen Gast dabei. Und der Arne wird jetzt gleich mal unseren Gast auffordern, sich vorzustellen.
Yeah, we have a special guest here with the one of the hottest designers in board gaming. We have here Matt Leacock. Please introduce yourself.
Well, hi, I'm Matt Leacock. I'm a game designer. I work out of California and specialize in family games, I guess you could say. And I'm known for Pandemic.
What was your inspiration for Pandemic to create such a game?
Well, you know, I played Reiner Knizia's Lord of the Rings. I think this is back in 2000 or so, and enjoyed it quite a bit. I didn't think a cooperative game could actually be fun. And our family really enjoyed that one. It was very tense. I was surprised how tense a game could be. A cooperative game at that with just paper. You know, we're really drawn into it. And I wanted to try designing something like that myself. So I just started experimenting. And I think pandemics were very much in the news and still are, of course. And so I think that was bouncing around in my brain as a really great enemy that everybody could get behind. That nobody really identifies with the disease so much. They make a good enemy. So I just started combining those ideas, and Pandemic came out.
Sounds so easy.
Actually, I took a walk with my daughter and had a lot of ideas for mechanisms. Some of them were based on, say, Web of Power. I wanted to do a card game, have a card element where cards could be used for multiple things. And I wanted there to be chain reactions. And I sat down and just started experimenting with the deck of cards and found the mechanism where you reshuffled the discard pile and put it back on top of the draw pile actually very quickly. And that kind of hooked me in. And so I just kept going with it until 3 years later, I had a final product.
3 years? Have you ever thought that it would be such a hit?
Oh, no. Absolutely not. This is my first game that I got published. So my expectations were very modest. I was just happy to get a game published at the time because I'd been working on trying to get a game out into the market for many years. And I just spent a lot of time iterating on Pandemic and making it better and better. But I thought maybe we would sell 5,000 copies, and maybe if I was lucky, we'd get a second printing.
You're right above that, I would say.
Yeah, we it's been fun to watch the success of the game, but it was completely unexpected.
You also designed Forbidden Island. Is it called Forbidden Island in English? They changed the names in German a bit.
That's right. Yeah, it is Forbidden Island in English.
Yeah. Was it after? Did you design Forbidden Island after Pandemic, or was it? I mean, it's everybody say it's a simpler version of Pandemic, but I don't see this. But did you design this for families more in mind? Because a lot of people say it's easier for kids to get into this game than into Pandemic.
Yeah, that was very, very deliberate. So I was contacted by a company called Game Right in the States, and they wanted to do a cooperative kids game. They do a lot of they do a lot of card games for kids, and wanted to see if I could come up with a cooperative game that would appeal to who they sell to. So originally the game was a card game, and I tried to bottle up some of the fun of Pandemic in a simple card game. And so the board was made out of cards, but it's difficult to flip cards over. You have to use your fingernails, and you hack up the cards. And so eventually the cards turned into tiles. But that was the challenge, was to come up with something that would play faster, would be easier. The theme would be more appealing to younger kids. And that's where Forbidden Island came from.
With an evil island as a faceless enemy.
I played the game with my my daughter. I think she was 6 or 7 at the time. And I think at one point when she was testing, the tile underneath her pawn disappeared, and I told her she drowned, and she just burst into tears. She was so horrified by the concept that I knew she was, at least if nothing else, she was engaged in the game and drawn into it.
But you're also designing not only cooperative games, and you're also designing a lot of dice games.
Yeah, I like dice games. I did Roll Through the Ages, the Bronze Age, the year after Pandemic, and that game came together fairly quickly. It was I did a little challenge with my friends to try to come up with a game in a month, and so the seeds or the beginnings of that game were put together in that month, and the game, I think, rather than taking 3 years, only took 6 months. So enjoyed that quite a bit. But those are just the games that I've done so far. I've done a bunch of cooperative games. I like dice games, and I'm working on some other types of games as well.
So we can expect something that is not cooperative.
Yes, that's true. You should keep your eyes open over the next year.
Cool.
Okay, now to the actual game. You joined team with Rob. How did you meet Rob?
Let's see. So I met Rob. I was introduced to Rob via Z-Man Games. They had done some work with him in the past, and we had talked about different things and different directions we could take Pandemic. And you shoot a lot of ideas around. We talked about doing Pandemic the dice game, which we ultimately did, which is the cure. Maybe doing a card game, or maybe we could do a legacy game, that sort of thing. We bounced a lot of ideas around. And one day, the legacy idea really took hold of my brain, and I started writing down many, many notes. And then I started to get really excited about it, and I contacted Z-Man and said, I'd like to work with Rob on this. And so they put me in touch with him. And he wrote back a very, very short email when I asked him if he wanted to work on something like this. And I think it just said yes in very, very large type.
Was it your first working on a game with two people? I mean,
No. I'd done the Pandemic expansions with Tom Lehman, both On the Brink and In the Lab. And I've developed games with a lot of different people. So it's hard to do in isolation. I like to work along with the developer. I've done games, by myself, but you end up testing them with a tremendous number of people. So they never feel like solitaire affairs.
Wow. So you had this idea in your head, and then you said, "Rob, let's do it." How was his reaction to that?
Yeah, he was really excited about the idea. He's working on, or has been working on, Seafall. I think one thing that's nice about working on a legacy game for an existing game is you don't have to come up with both the base game and the way the legacy system works at the same time. But I think we both thought that Pandemic would be a good fit for a legacy treatment because it lends itself to story. And we both thought that adding a story to Pandemic would really, make it even more exciting. And so I think we spent about a year to a year and a half developing the game together. He's on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. So we did a lot of meetings over, using the internet. And he came out to California a couple times and we had some working sessions. But it was really fun. Rob's very good at story. And I pride myself on making things accessible and easy to learn. And so we combined our skills in that regard. And I think we came up with a pretty fun product.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things that we did differently on this project in particular was we did a lot of user testing. There's many, many games, in the box. And they're all played one after another. And in order to make sure that the game held up, we needed to do lots of playtesting. And we really wanted to see people's reactions and understand how they would play the game and how it would, basically really wanted to watch a lot of people. But it's difficult when the play sessions are so long.
So there are a few people who all know the progression arc of the game.
Yeah, there are some people that have played the game other than Rob and I. And we actually asked them to videotape themselves using their camera phones. So Rob and I think we watched, between 100 and 200 hours of video and transcribed notes and observations and ideas from that video. So that's a method I really like to do. And we really did a tremendous amount of it for this game.
Did they sign an NDA?
They did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, nice try.
Interesting.
How would you compare working on such a game with working on other, let's call them regular titles? What was the biggest challenge besides the extreme amount of time you need to put into it?
Well, it's like working on a very intricate watch. I mean, there's a lot of different moving pieces, and all the pieces affect each other, and so you need to figure out. You can't have the game crashing halfway through the season, as it were. So there's a lot of testing, and it's like it's kind of like so. There's the scale of it. It's a longer and bigger project, but it's also lends itself to story much more. You can unfold things over time. So it's a little bit like designing I think, I've never done this myself, but I think it would be a lot like designing a computer game with a unfolding narrative where the players gradually learn more and more, and they gradually get more and more skills as they go on. You don't have to introduce everything at the beginning of the game, which is nice. Often when you open up a box, the worst thing about it is you've got all these rules you have to learn. Well, with a legacy game, you can learn a little bit and then play, and then learn a little bit more and then play some more. And so you gradually achieve mastery in a nice pace. So that's a lot of fun. Plus, the other thing, if I can sneak one more thing in there about the thing that makes it different is it's fun to watch players, because every time they're opening up a package within the game, it's kind of like it's just like Christmas morning. They've got some new goodie to take a look at.
Yeah, I watched the little promo video of Asmodee last night, and they showed the box for, I think, the first time in a video, and I thought of my feelings when I played Risk Legacy, and when I ripped open the boxes and the little envelopes, and I'm excited for this feeling again later this year.
Yeah, I loved advent calendars as a kid, and I think the game kind of captures some of that fun.
That sounds great. So you have this box. There is only one legacy game on the market now, but Pandemic is the second one, and it says on the box in big letters, Season 1. I think everybody now expects that there will be a Season 2, maybe already next year. Is that something you're really planning to do, or is it just a marketing gag?
I think it's reasonable to assume that there'll be other seasons. I don't think anything has been announced yet, so I don't want to set expectations for timing or anything like that. But I can say that we're hard at work on the game, and I think it's reasonable to assume that there will be additional seasons. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome.
Okay.
I have a question about the difficulty, because I have everybody says that I like the easier games. How would you compare the difficulty of the beginning of Pandemic Legacy?
Oh, no worries. I do the same thing. I guess you could say that when you're designing a game like this, you need to make sure that the difficulty scales to the audience. So we built in some, I guess you'd call them negative feedback loops, to make sure that the game doesn't get too difficult or too easy. So it'll adapt in a certain sense to its to the players who are playing it.
And then it probably ramps up if you make bad choices.
Well, I won't describe the specific mechanisms. I'll let you discover those for yourself.
Okay.
Have you thought about additional components? It's like, you're talking about some of these nice promo stuffs. And there was, I remember when Risk Legacy came out, there was a promo pack which was not regularly available in the box, but as something you got at a show. Is that something that's also planned for for Pandemic Legacy? Damn, we make this error all the time.
I'm not sure what the next year will hold. I don't have any current plans for anything that's going to add on to it. There's so much already in the box, and we're as I mentioned, we're continuing to think about the line. I'm not sure. Z-Man may have some ideas, and Rob and I may have some ideas. So I wouldn't rule anything out, but I can't say anything's planned right now.
Did everything fit in the box that you had on ideas?
This game was a logistical nightmare to put together. It's one of the most complicated board games that our printers ever put together, if not the most complicated. So it's it does fit in the box. So when you buy it, everything will be in there. we had more than we had a lot of ideas that didn't get in the box. You generate tons of ideas, then you pick the ones that are best suited to the game you're making. So some ideas. The same thing was true with Pandemic and the Pandemic expansions. There are ideas that I had for the base game of Pandemic that finally got into the game in the third expansion. When it made sense to include them, like the idea of quarantines were originally in the base game. So it's fun to see how ideas never really go away. You can breathe new life in them, and we had plenty of ideas that made it in, and others that got deferred.
So we can still expect more stuff for regular Pandemic?
I think you should. It's a game line that I think we very much want to keep alive. So I'm not sure exactly if we'll have additional expansions for the base game, or if we're going to continue to look at other standalone games. Like Pandemic: The Cure is a standalone game, but it's very much in the Pandemic universe. So. I think time will tell exactly what we roll out. I'm very interested in trying out all sorts of new things in the line. So, stay tuned.
We are. Rene?
Rene has some problems.
Yeah.
In Risk Legacy, there was a secret envelope that you never had to open. Can we find something similar?
Well, I guess I got two answers. That one would be, we'd never do the same thing twice.
Yeah, okay.
Poor magic. And the other is I would never tell you. So you're going to have to find out for yourself.
So I have to rip everything apart. And then I have to buy the other box.
Yeah. You have to get the red box, rip that apart, and then get the blue box.
That's why there are two boxes, right?
I should let people know that, the only thing that's different between the red box and the blue box is the cover. So you can be fully confident that if you buy one or the other, you've got the same game. Some people will have expressed the desire to play with a couple different groups, and that helps you keep them separate.
Yeah, I was told from marketing that the idea is you play the box through, and then you have a second clean new box you can still have on your shelf. But if I play with two different groups, I already need a third box to have a clean one.
Okay.
Is there a plan for a green and a yellow box as well?
Well, do me a favor and write to Z-Man and say that you're really interested in that. That'd be great.
And what about the colorblind people, right?
Right. You can't do red and green.
Matthias?
One of the questions we already also have here is there are a lot of games currently with some added digital components. Is there something like an app support plan for Pandemic, either Legacy or any of the other games?
Well, you can get Pandemic for iOS. That's out for iPad and iPhone. And they recently announced that they'll be supporting Android. I think that's being released in September. Yeah, and I think that they have more components of On the Brink queued up as well. So it's not just the base game, but you can already get the roles from On the Brink, and I think they've got additional, perhaps the challenges. I haven't seen that yet, but I believe that's queued up and announced.
And have you thought about integrating an app into the game? Like, for example, XCOM, the board game?
Yeah, I haven't yet. I've given it some thought. I think that if I want to do something like that, it's got to be so important to the game that it's like, core to the game. I'm not really all that interested in doing add-ons just for the sake of an add-on, because I like being able to pull games off the shelf and just get going without having to break out any technology. Part of the reason I like to play board games is I can get away from the computer and tech. I live in Silicon Valley, and it's nice to break away. And the point for me is to socialize with people and see their faces and not once again be. I look at my phone all day. I don't need to look at it anymore.
Okay. Can you tell us anything about Legacy besides some of the images we've seen yesterday on Board Game Geek, and besides some of the infos we read in some marketing materials that gets us even more hooked than we already are?
I'm trying to think what I can tell you. I don't know if I have a scoop for you without getting in tremendous amount of trouble. I think you probably know that it plays out over the course of a terrible year on Earth, and that each game is like a month, and you play through a month, and if you win, you move on to the next month, and if you lose, you get another chance to play the month before time moves on. Trying to think, what else can I tell you?
Guess we have to wait.
Yeah. I
hate waiting.
Reading off of speaking points here. I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah. It's going to be exciting for me too, because I've seen the set on video, over the internet, but I have not yet felt one of the production samples in my hands yet. So I'm going to be seeing it the same day everyone else is, in its final form. Rob was
I had more in my hands than you did.
Oh, did you have a sample?
I've seen a production sample in Nuremberg.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I have not seen that. I've got a printout of the box cover, and I've got a nice poster that they sent me, which is great. But I haven't seen the sample. Rob Davio has driven up to Z-Man, has thumbed through it all and done a lot of checking and proofing, but I haven't had the privilege yet. So I'm excited for Spiel.
So you're in Essen then?
Yeah, I go every year now, so I'll be there Thursday through Sunday.
So are you afraid when the crowd gets the game? I mean, when you play tested the game with I don't know, a couple people, a few people, some people, and now thousands of people are going to play the game. Are you afraid of that?
It's afraid's maybe not the right word. I'm excited and maybe a little anxious. I'm really interested more than anything. I'd like to do more games like this, and I really want to see what the reception is. I'm excited to see and interested to see how, I didn't follow the message boards for Risk Legacy, so I'm not sure how people actually even talk about these kinds of games online. So we'll have to see how the community. Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm just curious how they protect each other from spoiling certain parts. So we'll see how that unfolds. Mostly just excited.
But you're not afraid of quote unquote bugs that could appear.
Oh, bugs?
Yeah, like computer bugs, like game-breaking stuff.
I imagine there we'll probably find something. There's always something. We found an extremely trivial thing, which I just had to laugh about it because I'm like, wow, that's all you found. and it was the die cut of one of the stickers was a little funky, which had absolutely no impact on gameplay. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So fingers crossed, knock on wood. We did extensive quality assurance on it. Went through the whole package multiple times and did have multiple playtest groups go through it. But yeah, we'll see.
Do you plan to find some publisher for next games in Essen, or are you just happy with Z-Man and look forward to release more games with them?
What should you answer,
Spiel
Matthias?
is a big event for me. I mean, there's so many things I like to do there. I'll be there, obviously, for the launch of Pandemic Legacy, which is a big deal. I'll be there for the World Championship of the Pandemic Survival Tournament. So the winner of that tournament will get to go anywhere in the world with their teammate anywhere on the pandemic board for a week, and Z-Man's going to cover the bill. So that'll be kind of fun. I think there's like 22 countries represented. So that's the first ever Pandemic Survival Tournament happening. I'll be there for the release of Thunderbirds, which is another game that I put out with Matthias. And that's coming out at the show. And then I've always got meetings set up with various publishers. So I've worked with about a half a dozen different publishers. I do want to say, though, that Z-Man has been just fantastic to work with. And they've got really great people there, and they've been wonderful partners.
Great to hear. Okay. Any more questions from you guys?
No.
So we look forward. Do you think you have enough copies of the game in Essen?
Oh, God, I don't know. I hope so. You might want to get one early. I don't know how many they're bringing to the show. So
I think it's one of the hottest games there, or most anticipated.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's exciting to hear. I can't wait.
I mean, the last number I heard was back in May when they announced they already had 50,000 pre-orders.
I think they got 72,000 pre-orders was the last announcement I saw. So, yeah.
So, do you have an idea how many pandemic games were sold?
That hasn't been announced yet. That figure has not. I have an idea, but it has not been shared with the public yet.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe Pandemic Legacy will be coming out in 10 different languages as well, which is a pretty big deal to come out localized in that many languages at the same time.
10 languages?
Yeah.
Can you name them all?
No. I can't, not off the top of my head.
German, Bavarian, Austrian.
I would hesitate to name them because I would probably add one that wasn't in and forget one that was. But I'm sure they'll be sharing that information at the booth.
Okay, so we are really looking forward for that release.
Great, thank you.
And I think we are already through with our questions.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you guys.
Yeah, it was definitely a pleasure for us as well that you came to us on the show.
This late?
Yeah.
That's okay.
We are happy. I mean, that's only our second episode in English because we're usually only talking in German to our listeners.
Sure.
We still hope that was interesting enough for everyone that our listeners liked that show. And if they want to complain about anything, they can write us an email. And Arne knows the email address.
info@bretterwisser.de Bretterwisser.
Yeah, that's something like a running gag that only Arne knows our email address.
Yes.
Thanks for your time. And let's hope that we meet maybe in Essen. You might be crowded by a big group of fans for the game.
Groupies.
Who are looking to get in.
I hope to see you there. Yeah, that'd be great. Let me know when the show goes up online.
We will.
Okay.
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 We wish you good night. And yes, thanks again for your time.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.